The Basement Room. Author unknown. Read by Angel.
Carl.
And Sydney. My family went on a vacation in Cape Cod and we rented a small old house to stay in for 2 weeks. On the first night, we were all awakened by a terrible scream from my sister's bedroom. When my dad burst into her room and turned on the light, he found her sitting up in bed, screaming and crying. My parents sat with her and comforted her until she finally calmed down enough to tell them what had scared her. She said that she had been awakened in the middle of the night by a horrible stench. When she opened her eyes, she had seen the entire bedroom soaked in blood from top to bottom. There was blood all over the floor, bloody handprints on the walls, and blood splatter all over the ceiling. We all thought that she had just been having a nightmare, but she refused to go back into her bedroom and stayed in our parents' room for the remainder of the holiday.
One evening, my mother was cooking dinner in the kitchen upstairs. My father had gone out on an errand in nearby town. My sister and I were in the basement room, watching TV. And all of a sudden, the light bulb popped and the TV went off, leaving us in complete darkness. Something seemed to be scratching at the floor, on the walls. We screamed and began scrambling around in the pitch black, trying to find the door. Eventually, we managed to open the door and ran upstairs screaming to our mother. Our mother eventually agreed to go down to the basement. She took a flashlight and disappeared into the darkness. As we waited for her at the top of the stairs, we expected her to return quickly, but she seemed to be down there for an eternity. Suddenly, we saw her emerge out of the darkness and come running up the stairs. She slammed the basement door behind her and bolted as fast as she could. She turned to us and we could see her face had completely drained of color. Her eyes were wide with fear, and she just said, "I don't want you going down there again."
She told us to leave her alone and go to our rooms. After 30 minutes of looking at the ceiling, I realized I couldn't fall asleep. At least, not now. So I quietly got up. While on my way towards the door, "Wait!" I heard from my sister. She said that she couldn't sleep either, and she was also curious about what was behind the locked basement door. Together, we snuck down the stairs and arrived in front of the basement door. Hesitantly, I slowly unlocked and opened the basement door. We turned on and flashed our flashlight down the stairs, making sure that it was clear. After checking the basement out, I saw something that caught my eye. It was a mirror. It looked old, like I'm talking hundreds of years old. Probably something my great-grandma would buy for a living room. As soon as I thought I was ready to move on, I froze. My sister gasped and jumped back. Stunned, I stared at the mirror, confused as to why I had just seen a random flash go across it. I looked again, and this time, there were words appearing on the mirror. "Help me get out," and "Don't leave me," the mirror wrote. Then suddenly I heard someone coming down the stairs. It was my mother. She seemed nervous and frightened that we were down there. Told us to go upstairs now. Obeying her demands this time, we went. The next day, she told us what had happened the other day. She said when she checked around and looked at the mirror and saw writing, it spelled, "I need one more," which freaked her out and she panicked about what it meant. So that's why she didn't want us to go down there and that we had to leave quickly. We understood and packed up quickly to leave. But while we were packing up, I couldn't help but remember how my mom's face was while explaining it to us. It's kind of like she was pretending to act scared and sad. This stood in my back of my mind for a while, but I tried to ignore it because maybe she was just out of her usual state because of what she just experienced. Finally, we got in the car and we started to drive away. I realized my father probably doesn't know that we're leaving early, so I asked my mom if we should call him. Right there, at that moment, my mom's face went from scared and nervous to confident and happy, like she had the biggest smile on her face, like something I've never seen before. It was almost chilling in the moment. And she looked back and said, "Oh, don't you guys worry. You'll see your parents very soon. As she turned towards the opposite lane, hitting 160.